neighborhood. The sun is shining, flowers are blossoming, snotty little kids waking up their parents. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a beautiful day in the neighborhood. The birds are chirping, lawnmowers cutting, barbecue burning, dead animals. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a fishing day. It's such a wonderful day. It's such a beautiful day. It's such a gorgeous day. It's such a happy day. It's such a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
And it is. It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day out there in beautiful Hollywood.
That's the name of the show.
The birds are chirping.
Flowers are blossoming.
Yeah.
We gotta break out the barbecue.
Dead
Dude.
animals.
Okay, the barbecue's got a cover on it right now, but yeah, it's warm enough.
Yeah, we'll bust it out.
Yeah, we'll get some dead flesh and throw it on there. Yeah.
It's snowing in. God, I just saw that on social media. It's like I think they said Montana is getting snow, which is crazy. And then I heard from some people. I don't remember exactly where they live right now, but one of them was talking about how she got up and put the fireplace together and put on her like fuzzy robe and was like sitting in front of the fire. And I'm like looking at her window, like, really?
In my mind, it's always snowing in Montana. I'm not going to fucking Montana.
I always think
the bees are buzzing. They're trying
Yeah.
to pollinate you. We have many flowers that you could pollinate, bee, to get out of the coffee. The bees having coffee with the crows.
yes, the bees even love us. The bees say we're all right.
Yeah. The bees. Let's see. Yep. Chat room's already in there. Hello, Jamie. Of course, Jamie's there.
Hi, Jamie. Well,
Let's
so
see. We got a lot of news.
a lot happened over the weekend, which I figured Mondays would be pretty busy because we don't air on Saturday or Sunday. But yeah, this impeachment thing is just kind of chugging along.
Yeah.
Trump is now demanding to meet his accuser and talking about how we used to execute spies, or no, we didn't say we used to execute, but he goes, we used to deal with them differently and blah, blah, blah. So why the hell would this whistleblower be like, here you go, dude, it's me? And his lawyers are saying, they're calling him a he, so I'm assuming it's a man, but his lawyers are saying, they're concerned about his protection. And I think that's like they finally, I don't remember, did they set a date for the testimony?
I thought it was like Thursday. Somebody's testifying Thursday.
There was like some security clearance issues or something, and then as soon as they...
Yeah, they need to get his lawyer's security clearance so they can come to trial with him.
Oh,
Or
okay.
put him to the thing.
Okay. But it sounds like it's all kind of happening. And then Adam Schiff...
Wait, before you go to Adam Schiff, I wanted to add something, because there was these other stories. I found them. They weren't on like any of the better news sources, but there was this thing about a bounty being put out for the whistleblower by Trump supporters, and then it turned out to be a bounty to find out his name. They put out $50,000, a couple Trump supporters, to try and find out the name of the whistleblower. And then so Adam Schiff now. What you got?
Yeah, well, he's been... Oh, God, what's his title? He's like head of the intelligence...
The Intelligence Committee or something.
House chairman... Oh, I don't know. I forget his title. It's been a long weekend. But anyway, so he's leading most of the questioning and kind of like summarizing what Trump had said in the phone call. He's kind of like, taking over this this thing right here, and Trump thinks he should be arrested for treason. I mean,
he did like a summary of the Trump memo, and Trump said that, he lied about the words. And if you read the thing, he's got like a little lead in. He says, basically, the president's comments amount to this. So he wasn't saying that he was quoting the president or anything.
He used the word reciprocity, so I knew he wasn't quoting Trump. I was like, we would never say that. So it was a summary of what happened, and I guess Trump asked about it 8 times, so then Schiff said, well, I'm just going to ask you 7 more times, and obviously Trump didn't say that, but, apparently it's okay for Trump to, quote, misspeak, and say, I misspoke, and that, they don't get it, and blah, 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 but he's doing the same thing.
How many tweets did you say?
They said it's like 30-something tweets this weekend.
30-something tweets this weekend. Now, one of his tweets was Trump retweeted some pastors saying that if Trump was impeached, it would cause civil war in the country. And people are calling that grounds for impeachment. A president veilingly advocating civil war. I mean, this is how he does it. He doesn't come out and say, I want that guy killed. He said, in the old days, we handled these things differently.
That's how those guys talk.
And that's how he used to get people beat up on his campaign trail in his rallies. He said, well, we used to take people like that out back and beat them. And sure enough, they're dragging them out back and fucking beating them.
And, we already think it's bad enough, but I've been reading a couple things here and there that are implying that this is like a much broader scandal than we even think. It's not like the one phone call to Ukraine or whatever. So I'm seeing all these headlines. The Ukraine scandal is not one phone call. It's a massive plot. And then I had somebody post like a timeline of everything and all the players involved and everything. This is like a huge operation.
And there were several phone calls, and I want to remind the American people, we have not seen the transcript of the original phone call. We saw some notes that a summary that Trump's people approved because he's got a senile lawyer that incriminated the fuck out of him. Everything was there. Everything Trump had already previously verbally admitted to, and everything that the whistleblower said happened. So I saw... I think last week or the last show was when Geraldo called him a snitch, and he'd like to whack him.
Yeah, so I don't know. This makes my brain hurt. There's like so much stuff, and so this article is saying that they're trying. The people who are trying to defend him are trying to make it all about that one phone call, but it's not all about that one phone call. The episode, it says here, the episode is so blatantly inappropriate, even Trump's most fervent apologists are, with few exceptions, having trouble defending it. What they are trying to do instead is define this phone call as the entire scandal. Trump emphasizes that he didn't specifically mention the explicit quid pro quo of military aid in return for the investigation. That is true as far as it goes. The quid pro quo in the call, though perfectly apparent, is mostly implicit. But the real trick in Trump's defense is framing the call as the entire scandal. The scandal is much more than that. The call is a snapshot, a moment in time in a months-long campaign that put American policy toward Ukraine at the disposal of Trump's personal interests and re-election campaign. Last spring, Rudy Giuliani was openly pressuring Kiev to investigate Joe Biden. Giuliani told the New York Times, quote, "We're meddling with an investigation because that information will be very, very helpful to my client." The key word there was "we're." The first person singular indicated Giuliani was not carrying out the mission alone. A series of reports have revealed how many other government officials were involved in the scheme. So anyway, it's really long. My brain hurts.
And then, okay, so Giuliani keeps admitting. I don't know if you saw these. The Saturday Night Live skit was the best. Trump is talking to Giuliani on the phone, and Giuliani says, "Don't worry, they're never going to find out about our illegal meddlings in Ukraine." And Trump goes, "Where are you right now?" And he goes, "I'm on CNN." And like, really, before this thing all happened, Giuliani had admitted all of it and then denied all of it in the same breath. He admits to working with Ukraine and like Marta just said, meddling in the, in his own words, meddling in the investigation.
Very helpful to my client.
And now he threw the Secretary of State under the bus. He said, "Oh, I have the approval of the State Department." He waved it. Yeah, he waved around some text messages he said he had on his phone, which nobody even saw, and some other like affidavits that he wove around. He wove around some papers and said, "I have proof right here," but nobody saw the proof. But now the State Department's involved, and then there's Trump throwing Pence under the bus. I think I covered that last time, but this is just getting better and better and worse every fucking day.
He tries to trade Ivanka for immunity. That's when I'll know, like, we're all fucked.
Yeah, subpoena Ivanka's calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty there.
Yep. And Jared, there's a hummingbird on our tree.
A hummingbird.
On our vine.
The hummingbirds are buzzing.
Yeah, it's really, really nice today. It rained the other day, not hard, but it rained a little bit, and it always gets really nice after the rains, and our plants are all bushy and happy. And
that's LA rain. Most of you probably wouldn't consider it actually rain at all.
Yeah, like we didn't even get up for a while. We were outside, it started raining. I'm like, eh. And then eventually we're like, okay, we should go inside. Our dog didn't even... Well, our dog did go inside. He doesn't like rain. But then I had him go under my chair.
Because we were in the gazebo and the rain collected and then all started to pour on his head and all by his face. And he don't like that.
He doesn't like it. But he's good now. Chilling. Okay. So...
More and more and more. Let me... I got one I can... While you're looking it up. There was this story today about Trump's allies are getting really worried that he has not formed an impeachment team yet. And Trump resists forming an impeachment team, which other people would have done, weeks ago when we saw it coming. Actually, back during fucking Russiagate, he should have formed an impeachment team back then, and they'd gotten a lot of work done. But Trump believes that forming an impeachment team would show weakness and offer validity to the charges. So he hasn't done anything. People say, we wasted an entire week that the impeachment team could have been, planning his defense and pretty much programming the American people, getting their sound bites out there in the world, getting their talking points repeated over and over on Fox, leaving Fox and Friends and all them to, come up with their own talking points or just repeat the talking points that the White House put out. But the talking points that the White House put out probably, written by Giuliani. So see how that works out.
And the Democrats received those talking points on accident.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah, we talked about that last week. And then... the other one, they're also keep encouraging Trump to take on more lawyers. And he doesn't want to take on more lawyers because Giuliani can only be controlled by Trump. And that, clearly that's what we've seen all along. If he can't control you, he fires you.
He's going to crack. Rudy is the first to crack. And he said he's going to be the hero. He's right. Yeah. He's going to crack. He's going to mess everything up for Trump. He's going to get convicted. And he will have been my hero.
And thus far, Congress have been little bitches and not exercised their oversight powers. Now, they're talking about subpoenaing Giuliani and whether or not he'll show up. But now that they've got some cojones, I hope they start prosecuting people. And they've already said that any attempt by Trump to block any of their subpoenas at this point will be an obstruction charge. Now, he's done this plenty of times. He's done plenty of witness intimidation, which is what his little veiled threat to, what we do to spies was all about. That should be a charge there, too. That's exactly how the mafia did it. They never explicitly come out and say, I'm going to break your kneecaps. It's implied. I want you to do me a favor, and I will call upon you to do it.
To tell you what they're going to do. They're just going to do it.
So that's how Trump does it, this little implied thing. But yeah, but he's not classy, and he's not good at it. And the mafiosos are usually, good with their words. They have a flair for words with the way that they allude to things that are going to happen to you. So he only wants to go with Giuliani, and now Giuliani is either going to have to testify, or they'll have another obstruction charge. And they're saying that these will, every time that he interferes this time, it will be an obstruction charge. I think that now, since they've opened Pandora's box, we've got obstruction charges all over the fucking place, and so throw them on in there. Throw them on in there. Can you have, several impeachment documents going at the same time, or do they all have to be included in one case? I don't know.
I don't know either. But I also saw something about how Mitch McConnell said that he has no choice but to continue with impeachment proceedings, and that he's got to, follow the rules all of a sudden.
All of a sudden he cares about rules, yeah.
And, but then he did say that if he wanted to, the first thing he could do is put out a motion to dismiss the whole thing. Now, I don't know if the Senate needs a simple majority for that, or if they need a supermajority. I hope it's a supermajority, because after all this, if the Senate's just like, okay, raise your hands to dismiss, okay, acquitted, I hope that it's not going to culminate in that.
That's the thing that's going to cause civil war right there.
Yeah. Oh, that which reminds me, that tweet he retweeted from that pastor who basically says that if he's impeached, our country is going to have a civil war-like consequences from which we will never heal. And I don't know anything about this pastor except that he hates all Jews, Muslims, and Mormons. Thinks all Jews are going to hell. And he said any Republican who doesn't fully support Trump is a moron. And yeah, so anyway, Trump retweeted that, and there's a Republican, is a rep from Illinois. He totally put him down. He said he's never imagined anything from a president, and that it's beyond repugnant. So he's got people from his own party.
Republicans think it's repugnant, but I want to, before we go too far into that story, I want to backtrack to something you said. The anti-Semitic pastor. And he's also anti-what?
Muslim and Mormon.
Look at that. He's anti-everything. Well, I'm sure, the anti-Muslim thing will work out, but everywhere else in the world, it seems that you are guilty by association. Even in our witch communities, we've been dealing with a thing like that recently. The people that you associate with or support or retweet, you become responsible for their entire ideology. Now, I don't know really if that's right or wrong, but that's the way it is everywhere else, and that's the way everybody uses it. Now, Trump keeps trying to say that he supports the Jews and the Democrats are anti-Semitic, even though Nazis love him. I
think every Jewish person in Congress is either a Democrat or an independent.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I don't know if it's a lot, and I don't know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there might be some Republicans who are Jewish. I don't remember the numbers, but it's definitely overwhelmingly Democratic.
Yeah, and this religion in the politics, this was the whole problem. This is the whole reason the founders, whether they were good people or bad people, whatever, it's the whole reason they put it in there. And I've always liked to point out the founders weren't so much concerned with freedom of religion. They were concerned with freedom from religion, because they had just left England, and England's entire Christianity was controlled by the Church of England, which I believe was founded by fucking King James, or it's based off of King James' work. So it was entirely state-controlled religion, and it had been state-controlled back, at least since King James, or at least since, Christianity became the power in England. So they wanted freedom from religion, and we've allowed these the Republicans, who are the ones that beat the Constitution over our head more than any other party, they just violate it. They just violate it because I don't know, because their base likes it, their voters like it. They want to act like they're Christians, and now and then just this presidency has been the big argument. Is this a Christian country? Is this not a Christian country? And it's never been.
Saying, everything that's wrong with this country is because we don't have God in our schools. Like, we're not supposed to have God in our schools, and I'm gonna use your line on you. You don't like it? Get the fuck out.
I believe when we had God in our schools, there was like world wars and shit. How'd that work out? World wars, famine. We didn't have vaccines for most things yet. That was back when God was in our schools. How good was it? We came up with the atomic bomb back then.
Yep.
How good was that? That's God gave us that probably.
Yep. Did God give us Trump?
They would like to say so. I mean, and some people, they like to go on and on. It's like, maybe this is actually the Antichrist. But no, the Antichrist was supposed to be suave and debonair and extremely good-looking, charming.
It's like, you never saw it coming. But this, I saw it coming before it even thought about coming.
This is just like the lowest common denominator of leadership, and it's a guy that knows how to whip up mobs. That's all it is, a big mob process. And I've been looking at those processes a lot lately. Just fucking holler. It's like back in the day, you could holler witch, and your enemy would be hauled away and dealt with for you, and you would get all of their property for being the person to turn them in. And then later, World War II, you just had to holler Jap. And your Japanese neighbors would be hauled away to internment camps, and you would get all of their property. And some people, some good Americans, looked out for their neighbors' property, and gave it back to them when they came back. But some people just saw it as a way to get some. And the entirety, the majority of what happened to the witches in Salem was absolutely that. It was two neighboring, I don't even know what they call them, communities opposed to each other, and it was a land grab from one of the opposing communities, and they were expanding their territory by accusing people of being witches, basically.
And then this new thing that Trump's pulling, which isn't going anywhere, is he said that whistleblowers have always been required to provide first-hand information, and that they changed the rules around at the last minute right before this whistleblower complaint. And the story is just getting into how that's never been the case. They've never had to provide first-hand information. And so he's trying to say it's a fake whistleblower. Let's see. Experts. Okay. Experts say whistleblowers have been allowed to report on second-hand information all along. There's, quote, there's never been a requirement that a whistleblower have first-hand knowledge of what they're reporting. Irvin McCullough, an investigator at the nonprofit Government Accountability Project, told the outlet they need to have a reasonable belief. First-hand information is typically gathered by the Inspector General for the U.S. intelligence community, adding that he believes that's what occurred with the Ukraine complaint.
And in the chat room, Lorelei says, I believe it was started by Henry VIII in order to get divorced. Yeah, you are correct. The King James rewrote the damn Bible for an agenda. So, like, religion being ruled by rulers, I mean, really, it's always been that way. But the founders of this country, is one of the wise things that they saw was that's been a problem since that's been the way. Ever since, I mean, even King Arthur, I guess, was, the first of the half pagan blood, half Christian blood. But he pretty much ruled his kingdom, more Christian, but then had a Merlin behind the scenes actually dictating policies. It's so complicated because then, they're really right there. Even the Druids were involved in politics. And so, maybe that's not a good idea either. But they had at least that one vision. And That amendment seems to be dead. That part of our Constitution seems to be dead in this country now. And religious rights are only for the religion of the Republicans. Yeah, and we have a president that only serves the red states. Let's see, lately he came to California because he's concerned about our homeless problem. Well, he came to California to expose, use our homeless problem on the campaign trail and do nothing to help us.
Holding money because homelessness is causing pollution, and at the same time, he's opposed to California having stricter emissions regulations for cars.
And he blocked it, and then there's...
All of a sudden, he's concerned about pollution.
Well, and then he called on the EPA to fine California because our air's too dirty.
Yep. And then he kept talking about, syringes in the water in San Francisco, and they talked to a bunch of, water officials there who say, no, everything gets filtered out, like all the solids and blah, 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 and it's like there's nothing in the ocean. And people have been inspecting, the bay for a long time, and as far as, like, whatever our standards are, they're passing them. So he just, like everything else, he just throws a bunch of stuff at you to see what sticks.
A bunch of stuff. All right. It's a beautiful day. We'll be back. Joy Division. On It's a Beautiful Day with Michael and my emotional support clown of the writing.
Marta.
Yeah, and I got this story from CNN. This is this morning. On Monday morning, the President of the United States accused a member of Congress of treason. I think he tweeted it. Representative Adam Schiff illegally made a fake and terrible statement and pretended it to be mine as the most important part of my call to the Ukrainian president, and read it aloud to Congress. The American people tweeted, and the American people tweeted Trump. Okay, it bore no relationship to what I said, and I call on the call, arrest for treason. All right, now let's see. Here's what Schiff said at the hearing last week in describing the recent released transcript of the phone call between Trump and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. In not so many words, this is the essence of what the president communicates. We have been very good to your country. Very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though. I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent. A lot of it, I'm going to put you in touch with people, not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with my attorney general and my attorney with the attorney general, my attorney general Bill Barr. He has the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him. I'm going to put you in touch with Rudy. You're going to love him. Trust me. You know what I'm saying. So I'm only going to say this a few more times in a few more ways. By the way, don't call me again. I will call you when you have done what I asked. This is the sum and character of what the president was trying to communicate with the president of Ukraine. It would be funny if it wasn't such a graphic betrayal of the president's oath of office. First of all, it's clear that Schiff was not attempting to portray his summary of Trump's call as some sort of verbatim retelling. Schiff literally says, before it starts in not so many words, this is the essence of what the president communicates. Unless you're being willfully obtuse, you have now been signaled to understand that what comes next from Schiff is his interpretation of the call. He's not saying, here's exactly what President Trump said. Then there's the Schiff summary itself, says that Trump says bore no relationship to what he said on the call with Zelensky. Lucky for us, we have a transcript of that call. Here are a few side-by-side comparisons. What Trump said: I will say that we do a lot for Ukraine. We spend a lot of effort and a lot of time, much more than the European countries are doing, and they should be helping you more than they are. What Schiff said: we have been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. What Trump said: I wouldn't say it's reciprocal necessarily, because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very good to Ukraine. What Schiff said: but you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. What Trump said: I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. What Schiff said: I have a favor I want from you, though. What Trump said: there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution of a lot of people. And a lot of people want to find out about that, so whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. What Schiff said: I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, lots of it. I'm going to put you in touch with people, not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with the Attorney General, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. What Trump said: I will have Mr. Giuliani give you a call, and I'm also going to have Attorney General Barr call, and we will get to the bottom of it. What Schiff said: I'm going to put you in touch with Rudy. You're going to love him. Trust me. You know what I'm asking, so I'm only going to say this a few more times in a few more ways. It's not all that different, right? Yes, Schiff embellishes in places, lots of dirt on Biden. You're going to love Rudy Giuliani, but in the main, what Schiff said, Trump said is, in fact, what Trump said, not word for word, but certainly in its sentiments. And obviously, if Schiff had completely botched his representation of Trump's words, that is not treason. So why Trump is fixated on this, the shortest answer is that the president always needs a villain to focus his ire on. Schiff looks like that guy for now. The longer answer is that Schiff's opening statement drew the ire of conservative media outlets who insisted that he was purposely trying to misquote Trump, which A, he wasn't, and B, he didn't. Remember always that Trump's lens on the world is cable TV and Fox News in particular. When he sees his conservative friends going nuts about what Schiff says, he picks it up and elevates it in hopes that his supporters will take his word for it. Which, well, they probably will. But that doesn't mean that what Trump is saying Schiff said is accurate. It's not even close. And then there's this short one, and I'm not going to read the whole story, but there was Trump was demanding to face his accusers, saying it was his right. And I just saw a story about that Trump's in confusing an inquiry with a trial. Mr. Trump, when you are on trial, you'll get to face your accuser. That is your right. That's in the law. Not an inquiry, though.
And then he's going to go into like the witness protection program or something?
They've already put him... He's in protective custody now. There's been apparently a lot of threats, and then that bounty thing, trying to find out.
Make him face Trump if it goes to trial, and then how are they going to protect him?
Well, in the law, you get to face your accuser in a trial, but there's no other right anywhere else to face your accuser, really.
If his safety is that compromised?
Well, it'll be like a locked down chamber with buttloads of security, and they'll take him out the back door and put him in an armored car and put him in protected. I mean, I'm sure everybody's gonna. This
guy and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, like we have to keep him alive.
Yeah, we got to wrap her in bubble wrap.
Yep, bubble wrap. And then I saw something. It's only a couple paragraphs. There's not really anything in it, but. Congress is determined to get some of the transcripts of Trump's calls with Putin, and the Kremlin is saying that they need to be asked first, and they need to approve it and all this stuff. I really don't know how it works. Like if it's like an impeachment subpoena, I don't know if we need Putin's permission, but Russia's saying we do. So I don't know.
That's the things. When I read the headlines, Russia tells the United States not to release the transcript.
They said they have to be asked, and they're like, well, if the United States wants to talk about it, they can contact us and we'll discuss it. But they seem to think that, they're the last line of defense here.
I don't know. I remember that this is the guy that's, still says that they're not in Ukraine, and those aren't Russians. So I don't know why we have to believe Putin or do fucking anything he says. And quite frankly, this is America. The only reason that we would have to do what Putin says is that our president is Putin's bitch. And Putin has so much dirt on Trump that Trump does all of his bidding. He has destroyed our military capacity, even though he says he's built it up stronger than anywhere. He's destroyed our alliances. He's destroyed our relationship with the UN, which Russia always wanted.
He's gonna take people's pensions for the wall. I'm sure they love that. And then I saw something this morning. I forgot the name of the plant, but it's some steel plant that Japan bought, and they're going to get rid of all the workers and replace them with machines, I think it said. So I thought the steel workers thought that Trump loved them, but they're out of jobs.
Yeah, and I think it was, let's see, the steel workers and the auto workers and clean coal. Those were his big things. He was going to fix those industries, and he'll tell you that, he's done great things. But I just talked to somebody in coal country.
About, clean water, it's like Flint, anybody?
Yeah. Still, nobody's done anything about Flint. And is it, wasn't Flint a hub of the auto industry? Reviving Flint, wouldn't that help the auto industry? I don't know. And you got all those closed plants Just fix them up. Put some paint on them. Probably some of the machines are still there. Shit.
Detroit's like that too, and it's got a lot of rundown houses that are unoccupied or squatters. But it's undergoing a revival. I'm kind of a foodie, and Detroit's undergoing some sort of culinary revival, and a bunch of restaurants and top chefs are moving there, which is going to gentrify it and probably drive some people out. But a lot of people already left to begin with, so it's kind of a ghost town. I mean, I haven't been there, but from my understanding, is a lot of vacancies.
Wow, here's hoping that, someday on it's a beautiful day, we've got room for other news that's not about Trump. He seems to be, just dominating the news. I'm still poking around to see if I have anything else, but it's, dominated my feed.
Almost a year ago, when Jamal Khashoggi was killed at the Saudi embassy in Turkey. And I remember I was totally glued to the TV, glued to the news, and that was in early April. So it was, early October last year. So it's pretty much been a year. It's like, can we just get a year of peace? I don't know.
And I think it just happened over the weekend where the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia accepted responsibility for his murder. He didn't admit that he played a part in it.
He's got nothing to do with it, but since it was carried out by Saudis at a Saudi embassy, that he takes responsibility for it.
Now, Trump's buddies with this guy, and they're really tight.
Jared's really tight.
Maybe some of that will rub off. I don't know. The leader of a country being responsible for the people under his command, basically. That's usually how we used to operate.
He put 11. He charged 11 people with Khashoggi's murder, and then there's another guy who was like, what do they call it? MSB? Well, the Saudi, the guy in charge. Like he has a right hand man that it was not really clear. Some guy that was also knew something about the operations and the hit and all that, but somehow he didn't get charged, even though it said he knew this and knew that, but he's not one of the 11 charged, so I don't even know how that happened. But they're probably going to execute 11 dudes who, and maybe they were the guys who did it, but he's not going to get his hands dirty.
Yeah, his taking responsibility is really not going to amount to anything. Maybe he'll give some money to Khashoggi's family, which he's got more money than fucking God, so it's not going to make a dent in anything. But it's largely for show. But our president won't take responsibility even just for show. I believe it wasn't that long ago he said the buck stops with everyone. Well, that's fucking refreshing. The captain used to be responsible for the actions of his crew, and most of Trump's crew is behind bars.
Trump would, that scene in Seinfeld where there's a fire and George pushes all the kids out of the way to the door? That's exactly what Trump would do.
I was reading this one today, an opinion piece, I think it was in CNN, of why Trump should resign. And I think it was Buttigieg or something like that said Trump should resign for the good of the country. Now therein lies the rub. Trump has never done anything for the good of the country. Trump only does good for Trump's friends, and Trump's family.
But he doesn't actually do anything patriotic.
It used to be, and I believe it was still the oath that he took was, about serving the American people and protecting and defending the Constitution of the United States.
He's telling his supporters that he is fighting for them, and that he's protecting them, and that he's serving them. They fully think that he's doing that.
Yeah, I saw a quote from him. They're only attacking me because I'm working so hard for you. It's like he isn't working so hard for anybody. Even the farmers are turning against him now. And he tried to, he's ruined the
steel workers.
Yeah, now the steel workers who didn't get shit. The farmers are turning on him. And he tried to, come up with some aid package to give to the farmers. There wasn't enough money. It's not going to make any difference. People are already going bankrupt. They're losing their houses, and they all voted for Trump. And are starting to turn. Right? How much, if you can do all these mental gymnastics and fucking, call blue black, fucking say, they're, I don't know, these mental gymnastics they do, the alternative facts thing. But when you see your fucking bank account, maybe that's reality. I was hoping when people found out that they didn't do better on their taxes because they weren't billionaires under Trump's little tax thing, that they, they'd rise up then. But I guess, they don't, it takes more math, or it takes a larger deficit in their bank account to fucking notice. But, some of the farmers are starting to take notice. Auto workers starting to take notice. I've heard coal workers didn't get shit from this clean coal thing. Coal country's not doing too good.
No clean coal. It's like, I'll promise you a leprechaun.
Or here in California, we got jobs up the ass because we're putting up fucking solar and wind and shit everywhere. That's jobs. It's a renewable resources. Until the sun goes out, the wind stops blowing, those things keep coming. I know. Trump thinks that you can't watch TV if the wind stops blowing and the turbines are going to give you cancer because Trump never heard of fucking batteries.
And then how are you supposed to watch stuff at night? There's no sun.
Again, Trump never heard of batteries. They even got, I remember Tesla came up with even if you don't have solar, they came up with this battery for about $1,000. It charges itself up at night when rates are cheaper and then feeds your house with electricity during the day. A battery. These things run off fucking batteries. And they don't cause cancer. I can't believe the shit I have to say every fucking day. And that's why we started the show. If it's your first time here, beautiful world, or I'm sorry, it's a beautiful day. It's pretty much it's pretty much what me and Marta we do every day. We start our morning coffee. I take the kid to school, come home, maybe get a nap, maybe get some work done or a nap, and then get up, have her coffee, and Marta starts flipping through her phone and then emoting with disgust. And then I know she's about to tell me the crazy-ass shit that Trump did last night, or what he tweeted, or this morning, or right now.
Ahead of us.
Yeah. What he did while we were sleeping. And I know it's going to be the craziest thing I ever heard and the worst thing I've ever heard, but I know that the sun will rise tomorrow, and there will be worse things.
And that's one consistent thing about narcissists is you know exactly how they're going to react to every single little thing, and he's reacting exactly like a narc.
I think it would have been after the show. I think because I was Friday I was going to pick my kid up from school, so that would have been after our show Friday. Trump was in front of the UN. They were having the UN gathering in New York, and even though it was on our soil, Trump could only be there for 14 minutes of the climate discussion because he doesn't believe in climate change. Where I think that was where Greta gave him the death stare from hell. That's been very meme worthy this week.
Make America Greta again.
No, they got red hats.
That was a dyslexic worker who accidentally wrote Greta instead of great, transposed the A and the T.
The problem is it's going to, people are still, people won't notice. They'll be at Trump rallies with this red hat with the same font that says "Make Greta Great Again," but most of those people or "Make America Greta Again," and they can't read, so they won't even notice. They'll think that there's Trump supporters standing right next to them. So that was funny. But then, so Trump went, and I listened to almost an hour of it live, went before the UN, and whined about the impeachment thing, about the whistleblower, about how great our country's doing. A lot of it's when he starts talking about how great our country's doing. That's just one of the first times that the entire world community was chuckling. In this thing at the UN, Trump talked only about himself and only about America to the entire world for the majority of the speech, which, hey, that's par for the course, we know. But this is the rest of the world. It's embarrassing, man. But then The only other country that he mentions in there, he just mentioned his trade war with China and how great we're doing as a result of that. But then he starts bagging on Venezuela and how we were sending all this aid to Venezuela, and Venezuela wasn't doing the right things. All we got was a bunch of immigrants at our door, so he pulled the aid. And I don't know, whoever the person is in the UN from Venezuela is reading a book. They don't even have their headphones on to hear the translation. They just, and we've seen at these things where world leaders sleeping through Trump's speeches, laughing at him on the world stage. The entirety of the last time he went to the UN, they all laughed at him. Trump's going to blow smoke up our ass and say that we're laughing with him. But no, clearly he made a very pompous statement about how great America was and how much better we were than all the countries in the rest of the world, which is a great thing to do when you're talking to the entirety of the international community. I'm sure they're going to like that. But they laughed. They laughed. They have CNN. They have translators on their CNN. They have the entire world watching this shit show, and like we say over here in America, and kind of why we got to do this kind of show, man. It's our humor that's going to sustain us as a people through these dark times. And if we can't laugh at this shit, our heads are going to explode.
Closing words. I hear the chopper. Let's see. Closing words. God, this is really bad. Dead air. La 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 la. Okay, la la la. Well, so this is the top story I'm seeing, but there's some interview on 60 Minutes last night with the main. Okay, let's see. House Minority Leader struggled to defend President Trump's dealings with Ukraine on an interview with CBS's 60 Minutes. So, let's see. He's calling it disastrous. McCarthy struggled to defend President Donald Trump's phone call with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, the subject of a whistleblower complaint filed last month by a U.S. intelligence official, and an impeachment inquiry announced last week by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So we didn't watch it. I always forget about 60 Minutes, but apparently he fumbled. Kevin McCarthy again displays his unique brand of incompetence and dishonesty. And this guy's a Republican who's, He announced his departure from the Republican Party in an op-ed published in the Washington Post in July, writing that he had become disenchanted with and frightened by party politics. So he's been a longtime supporter of impeachment, and I think he's an independent now. I'm sure we'll have more new stuff tomorrow. The day is young.
And join us tomorrow and every weekday at 11 a.m. for It's a Beautiful World here on the Widdershins Broadcast Network Incorporated. And then tomorrow night at 5 p.m., the regular Widdershins broadcast. We're going to be just media whores tomorrow, man. It's probably all we're going to do. God. Anyways, 5 p.m. for Widdershins. Yeah, we'll do stuff in between, but we'll be with you in the morning, and we'll be with you in the evening. You can, start your day or start your afternoon with us, and start your evening with us, because you know how fucking entertaining we are, and you're gonna have a fucking good time. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
The little hand is on the two. The big hand is pointing at you. Now, what time is that? My clock glows in the dark. What does yours do? My kitchen counter is flat and has canisters on it. Does yours? Don't you see these marbles in my hand? I want to go down to the store. I want to go where God knows best. I want to go to Sunday school. Jesus loves me, yes I know. I mean it. The little hand is on the tune. The big hand is pointing at you. Now, what time is that? You tell me. Sometimes I like to wind up my clock so the hands will point in different special ways.